TJ Dillashaw sustained multiple dislocations in last weekend's fight against Sterling. You saw TJ even try and relocate his shoulder mid-fight whilst trying to survive the first 2 rounds. In this video, we're not only going to cover what a shoulder dislocation is, but also what I would do to get him back to elite performance as fast as possible. In this case, TJ has an anterior shoulder dislocation, and an early sign of this is the flattening of the shoulder. TJ's shoulder would first need to be examined to see if he requires shoulder stabilization surgery. This procedure is usually completed when athletes have attempted to manage the shoulder conservatively with strength and conditioning protocols, and they've had little success. Anterior dislocation is far more common due to the level of support that surrounds the back of the shoulder versus the front. The back of the shoulder has the scapula, shoulder blade, rotator cuff musculature versus the front of the shoulder, which barely has any large supportive structures. So this injury happened last week. What would I do to help return back to performance as fast as possible? Step 1 would be red light therapy. This would help stimulate and heighten the inflammatory process to allow shoulder and surrounding structures that have been stretched excessively to heal much faster than if it were just to heal naturally. The rotator cuff has relatively poor blood supply, so getting as much blood flow to this area is crucial to getting back to performance as fast as possible. The second principle would be getting back to pain-free ranges of motion as fast as possible. I would likely get him doing thousands of repetitions in a pain-free range or into slight discomfort, and this will accelerate his capacity to start loading the shoulder earlier. Stage 3 would be loading intolerable ranges. As soon as Aaron was ready from a pain perspective, I would get him doing light cable rowing and light dumbbell pressing exercises to start re-strengthening his shoulder. So long as it's pain-free, there's no issues with loading the shoulder. And as long as we're not working in potentially jeopardizing positions in the early stages, such as excessive internal and external rotation, this will help minimize redislocation risk. If shoulder instability or recurring dislocations is something that you are currently suffering with, then I would invite you to go to www.combattherapist.com to apply to work with me. I currently have 3 clients who have had this exact issue, and they've gone from not being able to train consistently to being back in the ring and on the mats at 100%. Step 4 is advanced rotator cuff and plyometric loading. Once Aaron tolerates basic movement patterns through the shoulder, I would then commence loading in compromising positions, in positions such as internal and external rotation, as well as adding increased velocity movements such as plyometrics for the upper body. Step 5 would be gradual returning to striking and grappling. We would start by building volume with straight punches, shadow boxing, and intensity graded heavy bag work. Once we build enough resiliency in these positions, we would then add hooks and overhand punches to further test shoulder integrity. The beautiful thing about heavy bag work is we can work at low intensity punching and then ramp up once we build enough volume. The same principle can be applied to grappling. We can commence with drilling, then partner positional specific work, and there is no strict timeline. In order to minimize dislocation risk in the future, it is crucial to adequately reload the shoulder and prepare it for the brutal demands of combat sports. So I've just outlined the entire process as well as the principles that I would take. And I use these exact principles with clients that I work with, and I've had tremendous success. A lot of fighters also neglect training their necks properly. And if you want to avoid making these mistakes, then I recommend checking this video out. It covers all of the principles of neck training. Cheers.